Welcome back to Talking Sports with Brandon. This is the Week 10 NFL preview video. If you haven't checked out my last video, which was the Week 9 recap video, definitely check that out. Really good video. Talked about a lot of different things, a coaching change, a big injury that I'll talk about in this video as well, and just some stuff from last week. And now moving into Week 10 here. We're over the halfway point in the season. I've been talking about it the last couple of weeks and the last couple of games, but I mean, this is where we see which teams are which and which teams are not going to contend for a spot in the playoffs or be a real threat in the playoffs, and which teams will ultimately miss the playoffs. And we've already seen it the last couple of weeks. I think every week from now on, those certain teams, and I've already named them: Packers, Rams, Bucks. We'll see what they look like, and it's not going to get a lot easier from now on. And we'll talk about that in this episode, about a couple of those teams. But the one thing, I'm filming this on Friday, so the Thursday night game did happen, and this benefits the Bucks. It helps them a lot, for a team that's not that good and really doesn't deserve to make the playoffs for just how they play and how disgusting they are to watch. They're going to make the playoffs, and it sucks because the Thursday night game was Panthers Falcons. Falcons lost 15-25. That's a bad loss. Now, if you watch the game, it was raining the entire game. It was just one of those type of games. It was like the outer effects of the hurricane. So it was one of those sloppy, rainy games. But the Falcons looked awful. For a team that's been really competitive so far this season, I thought that the talent on that team going into the season was one of the worst in the NFL. But they've just played really well. I mean, they've lost their last two games, but they were 4-4 before that. They're still 4-6, which is a lot better than most people probably thought they'd be at this point. But I think last night really showed kind of the team that they are, which is, Mariota. If you get pressure on him, he really doesn't know what to do. His stat line doesn't look bad, but it was not good. He threw one interception, but he probably threw about three or four more that should have been picked off. I don't know if it was the rain or just guys not being able to catch the ball, but they were in their hands. It wasn't like they made a diving attempt for it. Like, it was thrown right at them. He did throw one interception he was technically down, but I mean, he was getting tackled to the ground and he just chucked one basically over his head, to be honest. So for a guy that I kind of like to be, as a kind of like a starting quarterback for like a team like this, it doesn't have a lot of talent around them, but he can make plays with his legs and kind of do the right things that he needs to do. I kind of like him in that role, but last night was not a good look for him. If this continues, you probably wouldn't be surprised to see like Spencer Ritter start coming soon. And if next week, these next couple of games, they play the Bears and when Washington and Pittsburgh next couple weeks. I mean, those are pretty easy opponents. They're like at least the same skill level as the Falcons. But if they lose against the Bears, even if they like beat Washington but they don't look good, I could definitely see Ritter starting those last couple games in the season. I mean, you drafted him, so you might as well play him. You never had hopes of Mariota being your franchise quarterback anyways. Now, do I think Ritter could be a franchise quarterback? No, but at the same time, you did take him in the draft this past year. He was one of the top quarterbacks selected despite being a late round pick. So I definitely don't be surprised if you see him starting for the Falcons for the last, I would say, couple of games of the season. Maybe before that if Mariota really does struggle more. But, with them losing, though, 4-6, the Bucks can still lose this week, and they'd still be leading that division. So that's just what it comes down to. I think it's unfortunate because they're not a good team, and there's not many good teams in the NFC. But the Bucks don't really deserve to be in the playoffs, let alone a top 4 spot in the playoffs. So it's unfortunate, but we'll go into the 5 picks. And funny enough, it starts with the Bucks. It's Seahawks. Technically at Bucks. It's in Germany, though, so it's not really a home game, but it's counted as one. I'm taking the Seahawks plus 2.5. I've been riding high on the Seahawks the last couple of weeks, and I don't know why I wouldn't stop. And, they haven't really let me down so far this season, so going with them again. I think just kind of for the reasons I've been talking about these last couple of weeks with the Seahawks and the Bucks. The Seahawks, they could run the ball. The defense flies around. They can make plays. Geno, Still hasn't looked bad so far. Still hasn't really made the big mistakes yet. Now, maybe in a couple weeks it happens, maybe it doesn't, but so far it's not happening. So until it does happen, I think you have to keep thinking highly of this team. They're 6-3. That's not really a mistake. You can't really fumble your way into 6-3. So I think that's pretty impressive for them. The Bucks, like I said, 4-5, not impressive. They can't run the ball at all, and they really throwing the ball, they can't do much either. I mean, Mike Evans has been pretty bad so far this season. The offensive line's awful for them. Godwin still isn't right. Julio, he's an afterthought, to be honest. Even if he's on the field, he's not doing anything for you. So, I mean, what is there to like about this Bucks team? Nothing, in my opinion. So I'm going Seahawks here. Maybe Germany. Again, that can affect teams differently. So maybe it does affect the Seahawks more than the Bucks. I don't know, but I like the Seahawks in this one. So that's my first one, 2.5. And just as a clarification, overall record. Again, if you didn't watch the last video, check it out. But overall record now is 20, 22, and 3. So this could be a big week. You can get over 500 this week, or even get to 500, whatever it is. So it's definitely a big week. Second game, though, Browns-Dolphins. I'm taking Dolphins minus 3.5. Now, it's funny because these are the two teams that were in for the sweepstakes of Deshaun Watson. Obviously, the Dolphins, it seemed like we're going to get him. I mean, whether it was management that wanted him or the owner, whoever it was that wanted him, but the other side didn't want to get him. It seemed like they had a deal. They didn't have a deal. What was going on? All these conversations eventually didn't obviously work out. I think they had to be pretty happy with having Tua, considering the fact that he hasn't lost a start that he's this season that he's finished the game in. He has not lost yet. And then dating back to last season, he was like 8-0 to end the season, or 9-0. So he's been basically perfect in every game he started for the last just about full season of games. So I don't think you can complain about that. And for the Browns, obviously Watson's not playing. He won't be back for, at this point, it will be in a couple weeks, but it actually is week 13 that he'll be back when they face the Texans, obviously his former team. So only a couple weeks till he comes back. I think the Browns definitely still have a chance to maybe make the playoffs. You really need a win this week, though, and it's going to be tough. Playing in Miami, it's most likely going to be hot there. I mean, it almost always is, but definitely not as hot as it's been. If you think back to that Bills game where guys were just like dying on the field because it was that hot. But that can maybe play a little bit of a factor. I think the Browns definitely have the formula to win in an environment like that where they just run the ball. And with the way that Chubb can play, obviously past the deadline, Hunt is still there, so you can still use him as much as you want. So I think with them as a 1-2, obviously Chubb being the upper echelon elite player of the two, they have the formula and offensive play style to beat a Miami. Because if they can control the clock, keep their defense off the field, and just waste time and have long possessions that do end up in points, that's how you beat Miami. Because they want to go down the field, score as fast as they can. With Hill and Waddle, getting Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert's looked really good these last couple weeks. Like, they want to just go up and down the field. But if you can control the clock and keep their offense on the sideline, keep their momentum away, get them off the field, get them out of rhythm. That's exactly how you have to beat Miami. Their defense is good. It's not great, though, so you definitely can kind of expose them a little bit. As long as Brissett's not making turnovers, you can see them, competing, but I don't personally see that happening. I think this Miami offense is just too explosive. I think even if they don't win time of possession, which they usually really don't, because again they want to go up and down the field, I just think that they could score just like that. They could score right away. They can go right down the field, score, get the ball back, and go back and score. And now with Wilson back there, I think their rushing attack is a little bit better than it's been. That was kind of the thing. Even though Mostert was there, they didn't really run the ball, and when they did, it wasn't great. But now with Wilson there, with a 1-2 tandem, I think that they could run the ball a little bit better. It shows the defense just something else. If you've watched these last couple of games, the play action's been big for them. and it's because of the running game. If teams have to respect that running game a little bit more, you can get one-on-one on the outside. You can go play action. You can get mismatches on Hill or Waddle, and that's exactly what you want, and that's what McDaniel's going for. So I still like Miami this game, -3.5. I think they'll win. If it was on the road, I think it may be a little bit different, but them at home is kind of a different animal. They almost never lose at home, to be honest. So I think those factors included, it's hard not to go Miami for this one. So that's my second game. Third one, Vikings-Bills. Now, this is where the injury comes into play. Josh Allen has not practiced at all this week, so it doesn't look like he's going to play. I didn't think he should have played this game anyways, because you can't risk him in a game where he's not going to be 100%, even close to 100%, and that's exactly what the case was. Even if he somehow did practice this week in like a limited capacity, I still wouldn't be confident, having him go out there and throw the ball, because, with an injury like that, a UCL, an elbow injury, you really don't want him throwing the ball that much, and their offense is predicated on throwing the ball. So they're not, and when they run the ball, it's him running the ball, and you probably don't want that arm to be exposed running it. Who knows? Tries to go for a stiff arm, lands on it awkward, whatever could happen. You don't want injury. You don't want that to be the cause of an injury. So I think it's the right move not to play him, even if he could play. So it's going to be Case Keenum starting. Now, obviously he took the Vikings to the NFC Championship. They got blown out, but he did take them there in a magical season. Obviously he's back with Diggs. Obviously the miracle play was him to Diggs. So the line is +3.5 for Minnesota. I'm taking Minnesota. So I don't know if it's been adjusted yet, because technically it's not confirmed that he's not going to play in the game. But you don't practice all week, and the injury like that to a star quarterback like that, it just makes I'm betting on him not playing, and I'm pretty sure I'll be right on him not playing on Sunday. So I don't know if the line's definitely going to change a little bit. Maybe down to like a point or two, maybe even. I don't know, but the Bills also have a couple other injuries. Poyer's not playing, Gregory Rousseau's not playing, so they are missing a couple other guys as well. But them at home, that is kind of like Miami, Buffalo at home, they really don't lose either, so that definitely helps. The defense always tends to play better at home, but I wonder what the offense looks like. Keenum's definitely a capable backup. But he's not Josh Allen, obviously. He's not going to be throwing the ball a lot down the field, making people, just these incredible throws down the field to Diggs and Davis. He can't run the ball like Allen, even like any other kind of quarterback. Like Keenum's not a runner. So I wonder what the offensive game plan looks like. I'm assuming they lean a little bit more on quick passes, short passes, get the ball out. Running plays, use Singletary, use Cook, Nyheim Hines out of the backfield. Obviously, they got him from the Colts. Use him in pass catching situations. So I'm assuming that's what the offense is going to be. Kind of a basic offense. Get the ball out quick, no mistakes, no turnovers. You're playing a defense that that kind of feasts on turnovers. So that's going to be kind of a good battle to see who gets the turnovers in this one. Because that's definitely going to decide the winner. Now you could say that almost every game, but with a backup and Keenum playing, if they have 2 turnovers, the Bills aren't going to win this game. So that's going to be a good battle to watch. But I'm taking Vikings. The fact if the Vikings win this game, they're 8-1. I feel like they're not like an 8-1 team. They definitely, I've said this, they play down to their competition. They don't really blow teams out. They kind of let them stay in the game. They played a couple bad teams. You think about the Bears, the Lions. They had to come back or like put together drives to stave off a comeback against those teams. The Lions had to come back in, but Dolphins, that was without Tua. That game should have been a blowout, and they only won by 8 points, and the Dolphins had definitely chances to come down and tie that game. So they played down to their competition. But this is going to be a good test. Even without Allen, it's still a really good team in a tough environment in Buffalo. So I look forward to watching this game. I wish Allen was playing because it would be a way better game. But that's my third pick, Minnesota +3.5. Fourth pick, I'm taking Cowboys-Packers. Taking Cowboys -4.5. I don't think I've taken them since like week 3. When they played the Giants. Maybe I took them against the Rams too. I can't remember, but I haven't taken them in a while. But looking at the games this week, I didn't feel confident about a lot of the other games that I saw, but I felt confident enough in this one to take it. And like I said, it's 4.5. I already know as being a Cowboys fan that the Packers have lost 5 straight, played some really bad teams in that stretch, and they've lost. Obviously, they played the Bills in one of those games, lost, but they played the Lions last week, scored 9 points. They have so many injuries. I mean, Dobbs isn't going to play. Christian Watson will play. It seemed like he got a concussion in their last game, but it was really just him being taken out for precautionary reasons because he got a concussion the week before. So he did practice this week, so it does look like he's going to play, but he's not that much of a weapon for them. Lazard might not play. Jones is questionable to play. They have a couple injuries on their offensive line. Rashawn Gary's out for the season now. So they have a lot of injuries. Even Rodgers has a thumb injury. Now, it doesn't really stop him from playing, but it also limits him a little bit in terms of throws he can make and stuff he can do with the ball. So I just know that this team, which can't move the ball offensively, can't score points, can only run the ball, and even sometimes they really can't. I just know that they're going to, for some reason, explode this game, play a great game. Defense is going to be flying around. Offense is going to be making plays down the field. I just know it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't because I think this team is a bad team. I mean, they have no talent on this team. But I just know it will happen, but I'm hoping that it doesn't. For the sake of the pick and the sake of just obviously they're playing my favorite team. So, but 4.5, Dallas coming off a bye as well to get time to rest, time to get guys back. Even if guys weren't super injured, it's just, a bye in the middle of the season is the perfect bye because you play just the amount of games until you really need rest. Your body's definitely beaten up, you're sore, get that week off, and then you can obviously go down the stretch, the second half of the season, a little bit more fresh, feeling a little bit better about your body and where you are in a physical aspect. So, I like it. It's in Green Bay. So, maybe, that's obviously why it's 4.5. If it's in Dallas, obviously it's 3 points, but it would be a 1 touchdown spread, no doubt, if it was in Dallas. But we'll see. We'll see who plays for Green Bay, and then we'll see how they actually perform. So I think Jones will play. Dobbs isn't gonna play. I think Bakhtiari was also injured as well. We'll see if he plays, but they're definitely missing key guys. Even if they are playing, they're injured. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Dallas minus 4.5. Last game, Chargers at Niners. I'm taking Niners -7. This one, again, I wasn't sure what other game to go to. I went with this one. I think that the Niners, they're coming off a bye. They played the Rams 2 weeks ago, destroyed them. That was really the nail in the coffin for the Rams. Then obviously the game that happened last week against the Bucks was even more so a nail in the coffin. But the Niners, I think that they finally, McCaffrey, now with also another week to, learn the playbook even more, get more comfortable, whatever it is. It's, now this is where the Niners, and again, my Super Bowl pick from the beginning of the season was Bills-Niners. That was my pick. It didn't look great at first with the Niners, losing Lance. Jimmy G comes in, they lose to the Broncos. They're losing these bad games. They don't look good offensively, but they get McCaffrey. Their guys are getting healthier now. Debo's now fully healthy, so that's what you need. You need to be healthy for this team, and if their guys are there, the offensive game plan is going to work out. It's Jimmy G. Don't make mistakes. Don't make turnovers. Get the ball to your playmakers, i.e. McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle. Offensive line's getting healthier. Trent Williams, I'm not sure if he's going to play in this game or not. I don't know what's going on, but he's going to be back, and he's obviously one of the best offensive linemen in football. So, one injury that hurt, they did lose Jason Verrett to a torn Achilles just a couple days ago in practice. So that hurts their secondary, but their defense is still good enough. They still have a top defense in the NFL. So I think the Niners, this is where they take off. They're 4-4. I think this is where you see they'll probably end the season with, I would say, 11 wins. I want to say. So that means what? Going 7-2 to end the season? I think that's very possible to go 7-2 for this team. And I think it starts with the Sunday night game against the Chargers. The Chargers are still dealing with a lot of injuries. I think Keenan Allen's going to play, but still no Mike Williams. Obviously, Rashawn Slater's out for the season. Joey Bosa's out for the season, or out for still a couple weeks. So they're still missing a lot of guys on that team. I think it's still if you could bring pressure onto them, as we saw the Falcons do to them last week, you can make life very difficult. Obviously, Eckler's a tough guy to cover out of the backfield, whether it's running the ball or catching the ball. But if you can bring pressure and make life difficult, which they definitely can, the Niners, without even blitzing, which is the good thing, is that when you could bring pressure without blitzing, that's a perfect defense because you can have more guys in the secondary. You can double someone if you want to, and you can get to the quarterback in the same amount of time as it would if you were blitzing. So -7 and maybe a little much to ask for, a full touchdown win by, but McCaffrey, he had a monster game in their last one. I see it kind of happening again. I think the offensive pieces work in this game, and yeah, I think they win by more than 7. So recap of the 5 picks: Seahawks, Bucks +2.5 Seattle. Browns, Dolphins -3.5 Miami, Vikings, Bills +3.5 Minnesota, Cowboys, Packers -4.5 Dallas, and then Chargers, Niners -7 San Francisco. So yeah, those were my 5 picks. I think another game I just wanted to talk about was the Cardinals Rams. I just wanted to more talk about the spread. So I talked about how the Rams have awful losses so far this season. They're 3-5. They look like a terrible team. They honestly are a terrible team, but they're -1 at home against Arizona, who I think is also a terrible team. That's got to be one of the lowest points that you have to be at for this team, is that you're -1 at home against Arizona. That's a sad spread for a team like that obviously won the Super Bowl last year. Still has basically every single one of those players, to be honest. But that's got to be the lowest point of the season so far, in my opinion. But yeah, the other games this week, just to talk about, just to say what they are, Lions, Bears, that could actually be a fun matchup. The way Justin Fields has been playing, that's definitely going to be fun, at least for them offensively. But this could be, I could definitely see this kind of being like a high-scoring game. Neither defense is that good. We know the Lions' defense isn't good, despite what happened last week. But I think the offenses could kind of be rolling, kind of just a back-and-forth game, high-scoring, maybe in the 30s. Like, that could be a fun game to watch. Not two good teams, but just a fun game to watch. Broncos, Titans, that's a boring game, to be honest. I mean, do you really want to see the Broncos play football? No. Titans, we'll see if Ryan Tannehill does play. I think he will, but we'll see. But even if he does, they're running the ball with Henry. That's all they want to do. So that's not a fun game to watch. Like, those are two teams that, I mean, I guess the Titans are a good team, but like they just play boring styles of football, to be honest. And they don't have a lot of playmakers. But so yeah, you can watch that. That'll be okay, whatever. But Jaguars, Chiefs, that will be a fun game because I think the Jaguars, Etienne's looked great over the last couple weeks. He's now clear RB1, obviously, with Robinson not there. I think Lawrence, he looked good in the beginning, struggled. I think he's starting to maybe turn the page again and maybe start looking a little bit better. Could be hard against the Chiefs here, but this will be a fun game, I think. I remember the last time they played, I think it was 2019 in Jacksonville. It was like week 1. Obviously, way different teams, but in terms of players on the team. But like that was a fun game too. I think like they kind of these are two teams that kind of it's all about offense for them. That's really all they care about. And I think that they can put some exciting plays together. I think you'll see a lot of insane throws and really good plays being made by either team offensively. So I think that'll actually be a fun game to watch. That's in the 1:00 window too. Texans, Giants, that's another game. Saints, Steelers, that's kind of gross. Colts, Raiders, we'll see what Jeff Saturday looks like in his first game. They're missing a couple of guys. I kind of saw their injury report for guys who already aren't playing, but that would be actually, I think, a decent game. We'll see what Ellinger looks like. I don't know. I mean, you're playing a Raiders defense. It's obviously worse than the Pats defense, so maybe they look better. Taylor, is playing in this game, so I think that they will look better because you do have Taylor. But we'll see what Saturday looks like. We'll see what decisions he makes, how he looks on the sideline, what he does. I think people obviously were curious at first, but throughout the week and the press conferences and kind of some of the stuff he's been saying, I think people are starting to kind of like it, and they kind of like the fire that he's bringing and the energy that he brings to this team that seems maybe a little lifeless. Again, I wasn't a Colts person who was following everything, but it seems like some of the diehard Colts fans were saying that their team was just a little lifeless in the practice building. It was kind of wasn't not strict and like enforcing, but just like yeah, it was kind of whatever. You kind of do what you want. We're not really that tough on you. Guys weren't like toughened up. I think that was kind of the problem. So I think Saturday's going to bring that. That's kind of what he was. That's what he was as a player. He was a tough guy. He wanted to be in with the guys. So I think that's probably the good thing. That's a good thing for your culture and your team. But you also need to win on the field and make decisions on the field. So we'll see. And then the last game, Monday night game, is Washington at Philadelphia. So we'll see if Philly goes to 9-0. They probably will. Washington's obviously not that good. But those are the games for this week. I said my 5 picks. So yeah, hopefully we go over 500 for that. But that will do it for this episode. That was the Week 10 preview. Like I said, definitely check out the other videos on this channel. And I'll see you after the game Sunday next week sometime, probably Tuesday, I would say, Monday, Tuesday, one of those couple days, maybe Wednesday, somewhere around there, for the recap video of Week 10. And then also the Cowboys videos return next week, as obviously they had their bye and now they're playing the Packers this Sunday. So I'll see you next week, and thank you.